Steve, the Benidorm enthusiast here, and for today's video we're going to be discussing the smoking ban, which was introduced during the pandemic here in the Valencia region and has only just been lifted this week, even though the rest of Spain scrapped it ages ago. Why has it taken so long here? What's the debate, and where exactly can you now smoke freely? Don't forget to give us a thumbs up, click that subscribe button and also click the bell so you get a notification every time we release a new video. Smoking inside establishments was banned a long time ago here in Spain, way back in 2011 to be precise, and most people nowadays realise that you can't smoke indoors in bars and restaurants. But smoking was still allowed on the terraces of establishments, and for some this was a reason many people came here. With a favourable climate for most of the year, it was a pleasure for many to be able to sit and have a drink and a smoke at the same time while sat at a table outside. But at the height of the COVID pandemic, over 3 years ago now, they prohibited smoking on terraces as well. It was a ban brought in to supposedly reduce the transmission of the virus through excessive exhalation. However, when all the COVID rules and regulations were lifted, here in the Valencia region, the prohibition to smoke on terraces remained, and it has been a topic of debate for many months. This week though, the ban has been lifted, and now each establishment themselves have the power to decide if they will allow smoking or not on the terraces. So why has it taken so long here to come in line with the rest of Spain? But there's always conflicting opinions on smoking. It's a topic people will always be divided on. And the local government here seemed to think it was up to the health authorities to decide on the issue. But being that it was a COVID regulation when the pandemic was declared to be over and the rest of the COVID regulations were lifted, the hospitality sector here are arguing that there was no legal grounds for it still to be enforced. It also seemed quite a ridiculous rule after social distancing restrictions were scrapped. It was prohibited to smoke sat at a table in the street, but you could get off your chair and stand right next to that table, and that was absolutely fine. It just didn't make sense without the other COVID social distancing rules in place. Despite this, the last president of our local government, Chimo Puig, didn't lift the ban, declaring it was a health issue. However, we've recently had elections and now we have a new president of the Valencia region, Carlos Mazón. During the election campaign, it was said the smoking ban would be one of the first things to be addressed after the election, and it has. The ban has now been lifted. This is a big relief to most of the hospitality sector. It's been a massive headache for already understaffed bars and restaurants to try and control people smoking outside. A waste of time and resources for many, and realistically over the last year a lot have already started to turn a blind eye. But in doing so they were actually risking fines if the police had decided to act upon it. They almost never did, but the risk and the stress of it was still there. Debate again here, with those in support of the ban pushing for the police to come down harder on places that weren't adhering to the rules. Business owners were crying out that they simply couldn't control it. People weren't listening because they didn't understand it. With this region being the only part of Spain the ban remained, and at the same time the part of Spain which receives the most visitors from other parts of Spain, it was a very frustrating situation. National tourists and international tourists just didn't get it. After all, it didn't make sense, and most people would light up regardless of any no smoking signs put up, thinking it didn't apply to the terraces. The streets would end up covered in tab ends, places that were not allowed to give out ashtrays, and so the floor would become the ashtray, and that of course was a massive environmental problem. At least with the lifting of the ban, we should all now have a clearer understanding of smoking rules. That's not to say you can smoke on all terraces now though. It is up to the individual establishments to decide. Obviously having ashtrays on the tables is a giveaway for most places that permit you to smoke. If there are no ashtrays out on the tables, I would suggest you go and check with a member of staff. It should relieve some pressure from the staff in bars and restaurants. They will no longer have to try and explain a nonsensical rule to people 20 times a shift, which will be especially welcome now, the busiest month of the year. What's your thoughts on this, guys, and your reasons? Should you be able to smoke on the terraces or not? Should it be different when there's food involved, perhaps? Should there be an overall rule for every establishment, or is it better as it is now, where each place can decide themselves? Let us know what you think in the comments. Now, I also want to talk about smoking on the beach while we're on this subject. Smoking on the beaches in Benidorm is not prohibited. You are allowed to smoke on the beaches. A lot of people think you can't for some reason. I'm not sure exactly where this has come from. It's probably down to the COVID rules again, when it was ruled that you couldn't smoke anywhere if you couldn't guarantee social distance. But when the COVID beach regulations were lifted, the smoking rules for the beach were back to how they were before the pandemic as well. Smoking is permitted on all of Benidorm's 5 beaches: Levante, Poniente, Malpaz, Tio Chimo and Almadraba. In fact, the only beach in our immediate area which doesn't allow smoking is La Cala Finisterre. This is a smoke-free beach and you could be fined for smoking on there, but not on the Benidorm beaches. No fines at all for smoking on Benidorm beaches. Now, I was convinced of this, but I even started to question myself recently because so many people were telling me otherwise. So I got in touch with the local police here and they gave me the exact response I expected. In Benidorm, smoking is permitted on the beaches. It is not prohibited. What you could be fined for is not properly disposing of your tab ends, essentially littering the beach, which is prohibited, and that could result in a fine. Take a bag, a small box or a fold-up ashtray, something like that maybe, and make sure you take all your cigarette ends as well as the rest of your rubbish with you when you leave the beach. Put it in one of the beachfront bins, it's easy. What about hotels? Can I smoke on the balcony or around the pool? Again, this is up to each individual hotel to decide. Both these spaces are considered open air areas, but hotels can still decide to declare them non-smoking if they wish. So get in touch with your particular hotel if that's something you're wondering about for your upcoming visit. And for all you vapers out there, vaping comes under exactly the same rules as smoking regular tobacco. If you're unsure anywhere if you can vape or not, simplest solution is to just ask a staff member. Again, I'll ask you for your thoughts, guys. Let us know in the comments. Almost everybody has an opinion on smoking. What's yours? Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with all sorts of Benidorm stuff. Just click on that beer mug in the corner. And also check us out on our other social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and TikTok at the Benidorm Enthusiast. Stay positive and stay safe.